So not too long ago, I decided, hey, I want to post something to celebrate 7,000 subscribers, and since then, I got a couple different ideas for what people wanted to see, and the primary one was a Q&A. So I put out the call probably about 2 months ago, and hey, you guys answered. So I'm gonna go over the stuff that you guys asked me for questions and answers. Now, I realize when doing these are extremely narcissistic type of content. But for the record, it was put out there and you guys voted for it. So this is your fault. Yeah, how dare you? Anyways, so the first is from Samuel C6834. And they ask, here's my question, why did Ninja Gaiden never get a Super NES Super improvement like Metroid, Punch-Out, Castlevania, etc.? And don't argue that it did with the trilogy release, because that seems like more of a port and not a full upgrade. I mean, listen, you will never hear me try to defend the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on the Super NES. It's terrible. The graphics suck. The music is horrendous. It does such a bad job of converting the games to what was at the time modern hardware. I've been saying this for quite some time, that Ninja Gaiden really has been left in the dust by Tecmo. Not so much necessarily, like, Tecmo is a very forward-thinking company, and when I say that, I mean, look at Capcom, look at Konami, look at Nintendo, look at all the like old companies that do lots of fan service stuff. They release throwback titles that are like, you know, have a lot of 2D graphics and stuff like that. And Tecmo doesn't do that. I mean, they did maybe one with Tecmo Bowl, what was it called? Tecmo Bowl Throwback, I think it was actually called. Or maybe Touchback or something, I can't remember, but it was pretty fun. It just didn't have the NFL license, which really sucked. But yeah, Tecmo and Team Ninja have zero desire to do any sort of 2D sequel to the original Ninja Gaiden trilogy. I don't know why. It's free money. Everyone would want that. If they brought back some of the old people that were working on the original games, and some of them are still pretty active in the community, especially the composers. I'm sure the composers would. They brought back the scenario writer from, I think it was Ninja Gaiden 1, to work on Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, or 3, or whatever you want to call it. So I really think that Tecmo should try to dip their toes into like a retro throwback Ninja Gaiden title. And just see how it goes. If it flops, it flops. But it's gotta be cheaper than putting out like a Ninja Gaiden 4 proper sequel to Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. It's gotta be cheaper. Like, the graphics department alone, it's gotta be cheaper. So, that's my thoughts on that. Next up is Nexus Creed. I think I'm saying that right. In your opinion, what is the best song from every Castlevania game? Okay, I'm not gonna go through and list every single game, but here's what I will tell you is my personal favorite Castlevania song of all time. And this may be like, I don't know, a cop-out, or like a, yeah, you know, like that's everybody's. Bloody Tears. It's the first song that I heard that made me light up when I heard it in Simon's Quest. And it's just, it always has been done so good when they bring it back and they revitalize it and try to give it a new spin. So yes, I could hear Bloody Tears until the cows come home. I love that track. So that's my favorite from any game that it's in. Well, I have a question from TG5455, and they ask, what movies have you seen recently, old and new counts? I was on a Nicolas Cage kick for a bit. I watched Renfield, and then I watched, what was the other movie I watched with him in it? Oh, Vampire's Kiss. I was in like a weird Nicolas Cage vibe. I've got another movie that is sitting up top that my wife and I are going to watch. It's that one where he plays himself and Pedro Pascal is in it. Other than that, I haven't watched too many movies. I mean, I rewatched Final Fantasy VII Advent Children in the theater, which was dope. I saw Ghost in the Shell in the theater when they replayed that as well. And there was something else that I saw in the theater. Paprika. I saw Paprika in the theater for the first time. That was trippy. That was pretty wild. That was something. But yeah, I saw Paprika. That was cool. Other than that, I haven't watched much. Not like new movies, or even old movies. So yeah, that's about it. Console Wars writes, congrats on 7,000 subs. Thank you very much. What are 7 for 7,000 of your favorite sketches you've done? I had to write these down. So here we go. These are in no apparent order, but Metal Gear Snake's Revenge, which was the one where I was making fun of YouTube quite a bit, and certain people in YouTube dressed as Solid Snake, and then I was playing off of my own personal character. That was a lot of fun to do. Batman the Animated Series, kind of continuing that whole like making fun of YouTube bit. That was poking fun at comments that we as YouTubers get sometimes. That was a lot of fun to do. I was cracking up the whole time filming that. Castlevania Bloodlines was great. That was probably the most creative skit I've ever done, where I'm not playing myself, I'm playing, you know, this other character, and yeah, that one was a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm just taking a lozenge. Castlevania 64, there were so many moving parts of that, and the skits just really came together very well. Brian and I play off of each other really well, in addition to, you know, I thought that Tim did a great job directing it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Undercover Cops, that's one where me, my buddy Brian, and Ed, they were cops, and they busted in because I was talking about Undercover Cops, which I had bought a repro at the time, and they were like, oh, it's a bootleg, and I was like, no, it's a repro, and like we went back and forth. There's just filming that was just so much fun. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, I mean, I worked with Cal Dodd on that one. That was incredible. Voice of Wolverine, like the voice of Wolverine.
But how about something completely nonsensical?
Someone's eating pancakes without syrup?
So that was one of my favorites to put together. Especially since, like, I mean, like, the skits themselves were okay. So maybe that's a bit of a cop-out, but, like, it was just so cool to hear him do the Wolverine voice after all those years. This is, of course, prior to, like, X-Men 97 and all this stuff coming out. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game, that was a really cool one because that was a Patreon-sponsored review where, like, I had a patron of mine, longtime patron of mine, who happened to run he produces or something, wrestling. He works for like a wrestling company and like produces like wrestling shows, as like one of the smaller venues, and he happened to be like in my area, so we drove about 2 hours away, and I gave him a script and we threw the script right out because he was like, you can't hand wrestlers a script, like you can give them a basic idea of what you want to do and then they run with it. And that really took me out of my comfort zone, but man, that was some gold. That was a lot of fun to do. So that was so much fun to film, WrestleMania the arcade game. So that's it. That's 7 sketches that were probably my favorite. There's some I left out here and there, but yeah, those are probably my favorite off the top of my head. Next up is the Bargain Bin Hobo. They say, I have a few questions, so we'll take these one at a time. The first is, what or who was your greatest inspiration to get your YouTube channel started? I've talked about this a lot in past like videos and stuff like that on podcasts and whatnot. As much as I liked AVGN then, he was not my direct inspiration. I was much more inspired by Happy Video Game Nerd, who did Derek Alexander, who now has stopped skeletons from fighting, and also 16-Bit Gems from Clan of the Grey Wolf. Rue was the star of that one. Those two channels were probably my biggest inspirations to do a show. There was a little bit of other inspirations too. Hey Ash, what you playing? At the time, I mean, like, I'm an old fart when it comes to YouTube, so like these are all old series and old videos and stuff. But hey Ash, what you playing is a direct, like, dude, you haven't played this game. Like, I was trying to come up with names, and that was the name that I came up with because I'm trying to think of like what to come up with, and like that just popped in my head. Like, I wanted something like that was a question, like, hey Ash, what you playing? And a lot of the skits were great in that show as well. Pat the NES Punk, his early reviews, not anything that he's done in a long time, but some of his earlier reviews were influential. But primarily, like, when I'd say who was inspirational, 100% it was Happy Video Game Nerd and 16-Bit Gems. I watched all their videos when they came out and just absolutely loved their channels. If you had to start your YouTube career all over again but retain the knowledge you have now, would you do anything differently? Yeah, I would probably say I wouldn't let my head float too high to the sky, and I would pick a niche right away. I also would try to formulate what I wanted to do, not as I was doing it, but try to create really top-notch content and get better at video editing sooner. Learning the ins and outs of the programs that I was using, learning Photoshop, and learning more about the dimensions and stuff for thumbnails. So a lot of like technical stuff that I would do differently now if I was to, like, you know, go back and redo my 11 years of YouTube. But those are primarily the things I would focus on. Third question, what advice would you give to someone who was just starting their channel? What should they do or what should they avoid? They should avoid doing YouTube unless they are doing it just for them and they're not trying to be like the next AVGN, because it's not happening. The YouTube scene, especially for retro gaming, is spread way too thin, and it's just not doable. I wouldn't recommend it, and you're going to be disappointed if your goal is to get famous and make money. It's just not happening. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't create content, but you should do YouTube for you. Make videos because you want to make them, make videos because they make you happy. And that's kind of what I've realized over the years doing this channel. You know, I think a large portion of people who do YouTube don't focus on that. They're just like, I'm just gonna get big, I'm just gonna get huge, you know, I'm gonna make money, I'm gonna have merch, I'm gonna have this and that. Nobody cares, you know, about you. Everybody starts at the bottom. Everybody starts at the bottom. Everybody. Do you regret any videos you've made? If so, and you had to do them over again, what would you do differently? So I've redone a bunch of the videos that I really hate or can't stand. I redid my Metroid review. I redid... What else did I redo? My Castlevania Bloodlines review. And I redid my Astyanax review. If I was to redo any more, Rescue Rangers would definitely be on there. RoboCop for NES would definitely be on there. Karate Kid. Basically the entire first season of Dude, You Haven't Played This Game. I would leave those videos up as unlisted, which I have done with those reviews. But yeah, that first season was so difficult. And I just did not know what I was doing. So I would say, yeah, the whole first season of Dude, You Haven't Played This Game I'd redo. Which I've done. I've done a bunch. There's also one video that I really regret not doing the video, but a bit that I screwed up massively, and I really should have known better. In the Resident Evil Remake review, and this still bothers me to this day, and I wish I could change it, but I can't. There is a picture of, I think I was saying Shinji Mikami, and it's not Shinji Mikami. Even though when I grabbed the file, I grabbed it quick and I didn't do any further research. I was just like, oh, yep, picture of Shinji Mikami, boom, copied or downloaded it, put it up. And it turns out it was not Shinji Mikami. It was, I'm trying to remember who it was, but it wasn't Shinji Mikami. I think it was Suda51. And somebody called me out for it. I don't remember who it was, but it still bugs me to this day. So I wish I could go in and manually edit that photo out and then put the correct photo in. Other than that, not much else that I'd say that I would redo. This is the last question from Bargain Bin Hobo. What would your favorite game franchise be if Castlevania never existed? Probably either Metroid or Mega Man. It goes back and forth, but yeah, probably Metroid or Mega Man. Next up we have Scotty M3381. I love the retrospectives, but I know those are tough to crank out, so I also enjoy the shorter clips. From a QA perspective, QA perspective, what's your top 3 review videos from the first 6 years and second 6 years of the Dude You Haven't Played This Game catalog? I had to write these down. So top 3 from the first 6 years. Actually, I haven't been doing it 12 years, so maybe that was my mistake. I said 12 years, but I've been on YouTube for 11 years in terms of putting out content. I've been on longer than that, but just as a viewer. Top 3 from the first 6 years. I'm going to go X-Men Mutant Apocalypse. This is a bit of a cheat, but Ghost in the Shell and Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which really that's like one review in a way. That one I always like. It's so funny. I go back to that one often. And I'd say Simon's Quest, just because that was the linchpin of the show. That was the whole reason why I started the show, is to answer Ego Raptor and AVGN's hatred of Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. So, and I loved that review. So, yeah, I'd say those 3. Top 3 of the last 6 years. This was more difficult. This was way more difficult. I'm going to say Castlevania 64, Star Fox Assault, and Castlevania Bloodlines. Immensely difficult to pick from this. I think Star Fox Assault, I had the idea for so long that the fact that it actually came to fruition was just like great. But the Castlevania 64 one was just so in depth and so thorough and so long, and it's great. I love that retrospective. Perfect Dark almost made this list, but I was like, I can't put 3 retrospectives on. So Castlevania Bloodlines is man, I just love that skit. The whole skit idea I thought was super creative. But those are mine, so thanks for the question. The Mad Belmont said, congrats on 7K, man. I have a couple questions for you. 1, who is your favorite Belmont and why? And who is the worst Belmont to you and why? Favorite Belmont, Simon. 100%. First Belmont that I ever played as in a game, and I just love his vibe and style. And I'm not talking about like the redo of Chronicles, where they made them all like leather S&M bondage through Ayumi Kojima. I'm talking about the classic like Conan the Barbarian style Simon. Worst Belmont to me, I'm gonna say, I think Leon. I think Leon is my least favorite. I just really don't like the origin story for Lament. I don't like it. I don't think it's just not my favorite. I don't know. I don't really have an explanation. But yeah, I'd say Leon is my least favorite. That's, of course, if we're not considering Lords of Shadow canon, which I'm not. But otherwise, Gabriel wasn't that bad. There's a lot that I liked about Gabriel, but yeah, no, I'm going to stick with my original answer. I'd say Leon. Next up, we have the Magnum Express. A sincere congratulations on achieving 7,000 subs. Here's to 7,000 more. Thank you much. Time for some questions related to the 2 Netflix Castlevania series. I get asked about this show a lot. Would a game series based on the Netflixvania universe canon be something you would personally want to see, or should there be more of a concerted effort to reinvigorate the mainline game series? To answer that one first, yes, they should do a new game in the mainline series. They won't. It's just not going to happen. I don't see it happening. They're going to do re-releases, they're going to do ports, we'll probably eventually get Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. We may here and there get some cheap knockoff stuff. If they do anything, it's going to be a reboot. I do not see Konami doing a new game in the original timeline. I mean, they did Grimoire of Souls, but what Konami's been doing with the series is like, you know, a lot of celebratory stuff like Harmony of Despair, stuff like Castlevania Judgment, very fan servicey stuff, Grimoire of Souls. I don't want that. I want a new adventure with like, you know, a new character, or even an old character. You know, like if they did Julius, I doubt it's gonna happen. So that's that. As far as a game based on the Netflixvania universe, I don't want to see it. I don't really care. That universe is what it is, and there's no reason to meddle with it to make a new game, because the original games are so good that they can stand alone, and they don't need to be tweaked and messed with. You know, as far as them coming up with like a new Netflixvania based like timeline. You know, if they wanted to do a separate timeline and do a Netflixvania timeline for the games, that's fine, as long as they don't muddle with the main timeline, I guess. Would I buy it? Would I play it? I don't know. It's me. Probably, sadly. If you'd been in charge, how would your approach to adapting from the source material have differed? Would your interpretation have been as loose, more faithful, or somewhere in between? Good question. This is tough because, yes, the original games had a lot of in-depth source material that you really had to dive deep into when you play the games. The first thing that I would do is I would establish an understanding of what the characters were, like why the Belmonts mattered, why Dracula mattered. I don't think we needed Castlevania 3 as the basis for that. I feel like you could do something with Simon, or you could honestly do something with Leon, or you could do, because like all the old schools, like all the old school gamers like myself grew up for the most part with Simon as their first Belmont. So in theory, there's a lot of material to work with. Castlevania 1 and Castlevania 2 both have pretty in-depth lore and stories. And now, would you need to interject more content to make it fleshed out? Absolutely. You need more than just one character. You need a couple characters at the very least, you know, that you can care about. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do what they did with this newest series where they're like, all right, we're going to make everybody buddy up so that we have a team of fighters to go against, you know, the bad guys. I don't think that works for Castlevania. I'd rather see like something on the lines of like Vampire Hunter D, where it's one man's journey and what he has to do to survive to do it, to defeat Dracula. You know, why is he fighting? You know, like that's what I would like to know. Maybe even bring Sonya in, you know? Do Legends, redo Legends completely. Make Legends the canon again, you know? Like, make it like an animated canon. I don't know, that'd be kind of neat. But yeah, no, I think that's where I would head if I was to redo the series. I would definitely interject more stuff. The sexuality and the swearing, I would definitely tone it down. It wouldn't be as frequent. Would it be there? Yeah, probably a little bit here and there, because people swore back then. People had sex back then. Like, it's just, that's how we all got here. But yeah, I would probably do that just to flesh out the world. To make it a little bit more realistic. I'd have like romance, you know, maybe like Simon's talking to a girl in like the town of Algebra or something like that, and they, you know, one thing leads to another. She pulls him in, and maybe she's a vampire, you know, like that's a possibility, you know. I would definitely have a lot more vampires in the series, for sure. Sorry to make this all about Netflix Castlevania, but this channel has been my go-to for Castlevania news for several years now. Looking forward to what you're doing in 2024. Thanks, man. Yeah, I try to, the series, the show, and everything, the YouTube has really transformed over the years to be much more leaning on Castlevania. It's just a shame that there's not enough Castlevania news lately. Mad Panic Gaming is our last one. Congrats on the milestone, bud. I've been watching your channel for about a decade now. Really enjoyed your reviews. Thank you. Also, thanks for collaborating this year. That was awesome. He's talking about last year when we did the Batman Returns, or was it Returns? No, Batman on the Genesis, the first Batman game. My question: do you have an ultimate goal for what you want to do on this on the YouTube? Just have fun. You know, just make reviews, make video content that I want to see. And if I want to see it, you guys might want to see it. And if you don't want to see it, you'll let me know. So that's it. There's a new series that I've been wanting to do for a while. I just haven't pulled the trigger. But it could probably exist as a shorts series. I think that'd be kind of cool. Other than that, I don't foresee, you know, as far as like, I've got review 100 coming later this year, my 100th review. I'd like to do something big to celebrate that, because I mean, like, 100 reviews, that's insanity. So I'd like to do something big for that. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks guys for your questions. This was a lot of fun, and thanks so much for all your support and love over the years. Really appreciate it. And that's it. So stay tuned. More content is on the way. I'm hoping to put out a couple more videos in March. So we'll see you later.